Hello everyone, today I'm looking at Ace Combat 7, Skies Unknown. Yeah, this game wasn't very good, and I kind of knew that going into it, but we'll kind of get into why that is. I love the Ace Combat series, or at least 4, 5, and 0. Those three games subsequently are just a fantastic trilogy. And then something weird happened after that, where Ace Combat 6 was an Xbox 360 exclusive, and then they came back to multiplat. And it kind of makes sense, they're a military combat sim that kind of fits the 360, and then we didn't really hear from them for almost a whole generation. And so Ace Combat 7 is, I'm playing this on the Xbox One, and yeah, I don't really have much to say about this game. It's really weird how everything that it is conceptually what I would want: an HD, next-gen Ace Combat jet simulator with a really great story and characters and setting and tone and music. And that's just not really what it is. I mean, yes, obviously it's HD. It does look amazing, and the one big improvement I would think is actually the cloud cover in this game. Clouds in the other games are kind of just, a visual nuisance really, but in this game it actually becomes a real going concern. When you enter some clouds, you can actually get really messed up. The amount of turbulence you get from your jet, the amount of obscuring your vision, it's actually very realistic and pretty intense. So the going into clouds to lose an enemy fighter or to find an enemy fighter is actually a pretty big deal. So that's the main mechanical difference that I would say is in this game, which is really cool. But beside from that, again, it's, the story, it just feels so recycled. I mean, it opens up with this slightly new angle where you are this lady called the Scrap Queen, whose job is actually to go on a defunct military base to construct jets that look functional but aren't in order to scare the enemy. And so they're a Pochemkin military base, which is kind of a really cool concept to be in. And there are a bunch of felons, essentially, with one of the characters being blamed for the assassination of the president, Harling, from the previous games, even though it kind of implied that he didn't have anything to do with it. It was a random missile. And so it becomes a convict that kind of is used as cannon fodder in a way, even though you give them access to jets. And again, we have the Erusian princess, and so she's there, and yeah, there's the Arkbird and Stonehenge, and hey, all that other stuff from the previous game. So everything here in terms of story, it just feels so recycled, so kind of phoned in. And they were just like, yeah, just make HD Ace Combat in terms of gameplay, and don't really worry about story or anything else like that. So that's like one of the major things that Ace Combat does usually have: really great world building, storytelling, and here it's like, oh yeah, the Belkans and whatever. Like, we just feel like we're going over everything else. Again, the only new thing are the Scrap Queen and Mikhail, who is this expert pilot that essentially they're using his training data to train other drones. And so that's the big thing about Ace Combat 7, is that they're now drone fighters, and so they're the main kind of antagonists in this game, that it's man versus machine, that they can just maneuver in these ridiculously inhuman patterns under several more G's and G-force because they're not constrained by human limits. And so the main kind of apex of the game is that playing as Trigger, the Ace pilot, the drones that you're fighting essentially are at the same time downloading your combat data and sending it through the space elevator as an antennae to all the other drones, so that they can upload the algorithm of the best pilots of the war so that no one can shoot them down. So yeah, that's kind of a cool concept, I'll admit. And yes, they do the classic, end level where you have to fly through a tunnel and do a bunch of stuff, but even that end level, it feels so anticlimactic. Even the big, usual chorus, epic song they have for the final boss was kind of underwhelming. And this final boss was also underwhelming. You're just going inside the space elevator to destroy one of the elite drones and then fly out through the top. that's it. Then the final mission is just destroying a bunch of elite drones. It's not like this huge, big deal or anything. It's just like, yeah, there are enemy drones that are really, really bad, and we have to destroy them. So, yeah, and that's the thing. When I started the first few missions of Ace Combat 7, I just had the feeling and the intuition that this wasn't going to be a great game. And yeah, I mean, the Arcbird fights are pretty fun. I mean, it has this giant EMP field around it that it deploys. You have millions of drones swarming you. It's kind of, you know, a little bit new, a little bit interesting, but I mean, yeah, it's just not that great. And the other thing that's also not great is the actual way you unlock new fighters. Usually you just choose a fighter and that would be it, and you'd buy its sub-weapons. But here they have like a research tree, kind of similar to the Metal Gear Solid series, where you are getting a bunch of different materials and buying a bunch of upgrades for specific jets so that you can buy upgrades to other jets and then buy those jets. And so it's this huge tree that is just multi-spanning, and it's kind of like implying that you should use some strategy in what you buy to get the right jet you want, but there's no really clear distinction that, oh yeah, if I keep buying, I don't know, stabilizer wings, then I'm going to get the best stabilized jet. It just seems kind of like a very more convoluted way to unlock the other fighter jets in the series. And yeah, the other thing I guess that is new about this game that I haven't really ever experienced was the multiplayer, which was, you know, fine. But of course, this is a very old game, and so the one lobby with the 10 people on it are probably the same 10 people who've been playing this game for, you know, probably a decade now. So, you know, you stand no chance against those guys. And but yeah, I mean, the game, I mean, the one thing I will say is that the game looks great. Again, the cloud cover, how the clouds actually react, how sometimes you can get stuck in a wind storm and get blown off course. I mean, that's all pretty cool new stuff. There's this one sand level that, you know, you have to fly through a sandstorm. That's kind of novel and interesting, that, you know, obscures your radar. But ultimately, it's still, I mean, and the combat's fine, I guess. It's the still same Ace Combat style where, you know, lock on, fire a missile, use your machine gun. You have different, you know, new weapons now. My favorite new weapon is actually the EMP cannon, because if you're just lined up perfectly, you can fire it and do massive damage. And that's usually used for things like ships or structures. That was actually my favorite level. That was actually a lot of fun, blowing up an oil rig by shooting directly into the core with this very precise sub-weapon. I actually wish there were more missions like that, or that was the main mechanic of this game or something, because it was actually a lot of fun. But yeah, a lot of this game just feels very rinse and repeat, like 2 missiles here, 2 missiles there, and the story isn't really doing it any favors by making it new or different. It's very much the same old stuff, the same old vehicles, the same old concepts and ideas, and they talk about borders a little bit here, is like, you know, in Zero, but overall it's a very mid experience, like very, very mid. I would actually recommend, if you're a classic Ace Combat game and you've seen this, like, oh wow, Ace Combat 7, yeah, honestly, I would skip it unless you just want to see Ace Combat in HD. That's the only reason you would get this. Otherwise, it's not a good Ace Combat game. And it's not bad either. It's just so safe, you know? Safe and middling. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. And yeah, I'll see you later. Bye.